car is wreckage. And inside, his entire world is trapped. A crowd has formed a circle, but they only watch. No one moves to help. His unconscious wife is just on the other side of the glass. He pulls at the jammed door, again and again, but it won't give. He is powerless, completely and utterly separated from them. And that's when a small, weak voice cuts through the silence.
아빠, 해줄 수 있지. 아빠는 슈퍼맨이잖아. 근데 이상하게 몸을 움직일 수가 없어.
지화 조금만 참아. 아빠가 구해줄게.
배까지 세면 아빠 슈퍼맨이 돼서 날 구해줄 거야. 알아.
Finally, the man finds a fire extinguisher. But just then, his epilepsy returns. He falls to the ground, convulsing uncontrollably. He is frozen, powerless to do anything but watch as the car explodes. Then watch as the fire erases the two people he loves most from the world, right before his eyes. From then on, he becomes a madman in the eyes of others, always claiming to be Superman, able to save the world. He isn't handsome, with his colorful shirt and a mess of curly hair. But on the city streets, he's a bright spot. He'll enthusiastically help an old woman who collects scraps. He'll carry a wheelchair up a flight of stairs. And he will even find a lost dog for a child. He's also a self-appointed environmentalist, scolding people who litter, and running into the street to stop cars from releasing their fumes. He is just like Superman. As long as someone needs help, he will immediately rush into a phone booth and instantly travel to save people from danger.
조심하세요. 저 괴물들은 아주 무서운 놈들이거든요. 사람 목숨 따윈 진짜 우습게 하네요.
도와주세요. 내가 봐.
With a confident smirk to the woman, he releases her. The chase has begun. And when the thief escapes into a taxi, our Superman doesn't hesitate. He leaps onto its roof, like a scene from a film he's played 1,000 times in his mind. Of course, he isn't using superpowers, because he has none. There is only the burning in his lungs and legs that scream in protest. But he keeps chasing. The problem with playing a hero is that reality often interrupts. A single clumsy punch is all it takes. It turns out, Superman is not indestructible. And so, the grand rescue ends with the damsel in distress having to save the hero.
여기요.
여기 어디지? 과거인가? 현재인가? 미래인가? 어디서 본 사람 같은데?
좀 전에 만났잖아요.
얼굴 기억나. 언젠가 나랑 같이 하늘을 날지 않았어요?
She had seen him on video before. To her, he was just a spectacle, a pretentious, annoying man playing a part. But being the one he saved, that feels different. For the first time, she sees that beneath all the noise and the delusion, there might be a kindness that is actually real.
큰 쇠문을 여는 건 힘이 아니오. 작은 열쇠지.
Soo-jung is left speechless as a new, unexpected story falls right into her lap. She's a documentary director, an idealist who's become completely burnt out by her profession. Forced to produce shallow, sensational content, she feels like a fraud. She dreams of capturing something honest, but instead, she just helps feed the audience's passing curiosity. She was so desperate for an escape, she planned to quit her job, fly to Africa, and film lions. At least they wouldn't ask her to fake an emotion. Her camera was her ticket out, and it's nearly stolen from her. But in her most desperate moment, an unlikely hero intervenes. This man, this Superman, not only saves her but also rescues her precious camera. And that's when Soo-jung has a revelation. She doesn't need to go to Africa to find a wild, untamed subject. The greatest story of her career might be standing right in front of her. And so, she starts to follow him. The very next day, they find him undercover near a school, hiding inside a cardboard box. When a flasher appears, frightening the students, Superman makes his grand entrance. Of course, what actually happened was that he just came out of the box as usual. He even needed Soo-jung's help to catch a petty criminal. After the incident, Soo-jung sits down to interview her new subject. His origin story is exactly what you'd expect. He claims he's from the planet Krypton, the last survivor of his world. A self-proclaimed best friend to humanity. Soo-jung and her colleague, of course, don't buy a single word of it.
힘도 엄청 쓸 텐데. 근데 약간 그렇게 안 보이던데요? 날치기한테도 당하고. 하늘은 알 수 있나요?
그건 대머리 악당이 날 그렇게 만들었기 때문이에요. 원통하게 대머리 악당이 내가 초능력을 못 쓰도록 내 머릿속에 클리토나이트를 집어넣었어. 놈들한테서 간신히 탈출을 성공했지만 클리토나이트를 아직 빼내지 못했어요.
There is one part of his story, however, that isn't a complete fantasy. The crystal he speaks of is a foreign object, a small shard lodged deep inside his skull. And with it comes waves of blinding, agonizing pain, a constant pressure, like his head is about to split open. His only defense against it, his strange, simple ritual, is to chew on a piece of gum. But now, for the first time in a very long time, he believes he's found an ally in his fight.
자, 지구의 평화를 위해 슈퍼 용사들이여 크로스!
Soo-jung becomes obsessed. She sees that this Superman isn't a flawless hero, but a compelling, walking contradiction. And so, as a documentarian, she begins to test his limits, engineering one fake crisis after another. And every single time, he rushes headfirst into the danger. His methods are, of course, completely absurd. A simple hand mirror becomes a laser beam. The gurgling of a sewer pipe becomes the roar of a terrible monster. But through it all, his smile remains utterly sincere, his earnestness undeniable. She packages this strange, clumsy heroism into a documentary, and it becomes a massive hit. The ratings soar. The audience is captivated by this heartfelt, ridiculous man. But Soo-jung can't shake a growing sense of guilt. While the world laughs with her show, she is the only one who sees the real suffering behind it. The constant, agonizing headaches he endures for his mission. Finally, unable to just watch any longer, she takes him to a hospital for a proper examination. And the doctors find something. Tucked deep inside his skull, a physical object. The crystal he always spoke of was real.
크리토나이트가 있었단 말이에요, 진짜로?
뭐?
아니,
The doctor explains that it's not a tumor. but he confirms it is a solid physical object. Before they can learn more, the man awakens. And to his terrified mind, a hospital gown is a prison uniform. A doctor in a white coat is an enemy about to implant the crystal all over again. His panicked reaction creates chaos throughout the hospital. But Soo-jung, a documentarian to her core, refuses to let the story go. She has to know the truth of what lies inside his head. So, she decides to play along with his delusion.
저 망토 보이지? 망토. 응? 여긴 슈퍼 용사들의 가문이야.
Soo-jung struggles to make sense of him. A part of her is a professional, simply chasing a story. But another part is starting to genuinely care. Logically, of course, she knows the truth. He isn't Superman. He has no special powers. He is a deeply unwell man. And yet, moments later, she watches this same unwell man help an old woman across the street. He is rewarded with a small piece of candy. And for him, this tiny gift is a greater treasure than gold. His pure, uninhibited joy is almost childlike. But from Soo-jung's perspective, watching from a distance, it's all just another part of the frustrating, illogical puzzle he represents. Which is why she asks him, with an edge of frustration in her voice.
뭐가 그렇게 좋아요?
좋아! 할머니가 웃어서! 내가 도와줘서 할머니가 기분이 좋아졌어. 기분이 좋아지면 숨 쉴 때 탄산가스가 적게 나와서 지구도 안 더워져.
Confused by his unwavering optimism, Soo-jung asks him, why? Why continue to help people when he knows his superpowers are gone? His answer is simple, yet profound. He says he has to keep helping, because to stop would be to forget who he truly is. And forgetting is exactly what the bad guys want. He also explains that every small act of kindness makes him feel better. And a good heart, he believes, is the only medicine strong enough to fight the damage from the crystal. And one day, finally push it from his mind. Curiosity finally gets the best of her. Soo-jung follows him to a place that is less a home and more a quiet sanctuary for his mission. Inside, on the dilapidated walls, two worlds collide. One is his global crusade, posters of a dying planet he is desperately trying to save. The other is the small, precious world he couldn't. Photos of a happy family of 3, a life that no longer exists. It's here she finally understands. He isn't a madman. He is a deeply lonely man. And in this lonely life, he has a single ally, a little girl from the neighborhood, the only person who doesn't see a hero or a spectacle, but simply a friend. Their playground is the building's rooftop. Their game is badminton. There is one small detail, however, that stops Soo-jung in her tracks. They have rackets, but no shuttlecock. They are hitting something back and forth that simply isn't there. And when this imaginary object lands silently at her feet, she is no longer just an observer. She has been invited into their world. A cynical documentarian, asked to believe in the unseen. And so, after a moment's hesitation, this hardened, cynical documentarian makes a choice. She leans down, picks up the imaginary shuttlecock, and plays along. She still has so many questions. She doesn't know where he came from, or the real story of why he lives in this empty ruin. But at this moment, she's beginning to understand something more important. That this man, this ridiculous, heartfelt, impossible Superman, is some kind of a key to unlocking something buried deep inside us all. a belief in simple kindness that maybe we had as children, and somewhere along the way, we just forgot. That afternoon, high-voltage wires outside his building burst into flames. The sky cracks with thunder and lightning. And for Superman, this isn't a storm, it's an attack. The flashes of light, the roar of the thunder, it's a trigger, a nightmare from his past, roaring back to life. And in his mind, he knows. His greatest enemy is finally here.
내가 누구지? 내가 누구지? 내가 누구야? 대머리 악장!
And so, Superman goes to war. To him, this is not an excavator. It is a terrible steel monster. And he is the only one who can fight it. But to the demolition crew, he's just a man gone wild. And to Soo-jung, this is a side of him she has never seen before. Not the gentle, clumsy hero, but a man completely consumed by his own terror. She tries to intervene, but she is powerless to stop him. His heroic last stand ends with him being subdued by a high-pressure water hose. When the police arrive, they take him away. This also meant Soo-jung's show was left with an unfinished ending. With her hit show now in jeopardy, Soo-jung is under pressure from her superiors. She has to get him out. And so she returns to the only place she can think of, his empty apartment, searching for any clue that might lead to the truth of his identity. Tucked away inside a drawer, she finds it. A simple paper bag of medicine. Eden Psychiatric Hospital. Inside the bag, she also finds a faded photograph. A father and a son, wearing a small, hopeful cape, just like Superman's. At Eden Psychiatric Hospital, the truth is finally laid bare. The doctor confirms what she already suspected. The man she knows as Superman suffers from a profound mental illness. His condition allows him to live inside a world of his own making, a simpler, happier world, a world without pain. And here, Soo-jung faces a crossroads. Part of her, the filmmaker, needs a story. Part of her, the human, feels a growing compassion. She makes a choice. She will help him find his way back. Back to reality. Back to who he once was. It's a decision that sets in motion a far more solemn story. With the doctor's help, a process begins to peel back the layers of his delusion. And in his medical records, Soo-jung starts to uncover the life of the man before he had to become Superman. The medicine works. He remembers everything from his past. But in gaining his memories, he loses everything that made him Superman. His smile is gone. The ability to feel joy, or even sorrow, vanishes. His eyes, once filled with a strange fire, are now just dull and empty. Surrounded by figures in a clinical crowd, chillingly reminiscent of the one that just watched as his family died. And all the while, Soo-jung keeps filming. She watches as the medication peels back his story, layer by painful layer, stripping away the hopeful disguise of Superman, grinding down the simple pride he once had. His old wounds are now exposed to the sun, and without the shield of his delusion, there is nothing left to protect him from the pain.
제 이름은 이현석입니다. 당신은 슈퍼맨인가요? 아니요. 당신은 자신이 슈퍼맨이라고 생각한 적이 있었죠? 예. 왜 그랬던 겁니까? 그렇게 생각하면 기분이 좋았던 것 같습니다. 그럼 지금 당신은 누구죠?
전 그냥 평범한 사람일 뿐이에요. 여기 계신 분들처럼.
슈퍼맨은 누군가요?
슈퍼맨은 영화 속 주인공일 뿐입니다. 어렸을 때 아빠랑 극장에서 슈퍼맨 영화를 본 기억이 나요.
His story begins as a child, with a father who taught him that the spirit of Superman, to be brave, to save those in danger, was the noblest way to live. But one day, the sound of gunshots shatters their peaceful world. In his final moments with his son, the father places a small cape over his shoulders, wipes away his tears, and reminds him of the Superman story one last time. He tells his boy that humans were meant to fly, that he himself possesses a special power, and before leaving, he hands him a piece of calligraphy, a final reminder to always help others. The father leaves. The boy, not understanding, chases after him into the street, and that's when a stray bullet finds the back of his young head. This is the crystal, the physical remnant of the day his childhood ended. The spirit of Superman was the ideal he tried to give his own daughter, the fantasy of an omnipotent father who could protect his family and save the world. But he was only human, and in the one moment that mattered most, he couldn't protect her. The medication from the hospital forces him to remember both traumas, the bullet to his head as a child, and the fire that took his family. But memory is not the same as healing. How could any pill erase the image of those indifferent faces, the crowd that just stood by and did nothing? So now, he exists in a chemical fog, neither joyful nor sorrowful, just empty. And in that emptiness, the last remnants of Superman die. When he sees someone in need of help, he feels nothing. He has become just like them, just another indifferent face in the crowd. When Soo-jung tries to reignite his old passion, telling him the world is in danger, he simply replies, "What does any of that have to do with me?" Soo-jung stares back at the hollowed-out man in the hospital gown. She sees firsthand how a so-called cure can utterly destroy a soul. Not long after, an explosion rips through a familiar street. A house is engulfed in flames, and high above, a little girl is trapped, screaming for help. A crowd gathers below, and once again, they just stand there, watching, doing nothing. But through the crowd, Soo-jung spots a familiar figure. The cured man has been discharged from the hospital. His vibrant shirt is gone, replaced by drab, ordinary clothes. The fire in his eyes has been extinguished. He stares at the scene, quietly at first, a ghost of his former self. Then, something inside him stirs. He moves towards a fire hydrant and begins to drench himself with water. Soo-jung rushes to stop him, pleading with him. She's terrified. Not just that he'll fail, but that he'll die. Because he isn't Superman. He's just a man. He is only flesh and blood.
당신 슈퍼맨이 아니야, 이현석 씨! 안 돼! 안 돼! 여기 올라가면 위험해! 죽어! 이런다고 죽은 사람들이 살아오지 않아. 당신 가족도 아빠도. 당신 잘못한 거 없어. 이렇게까지 자신 힘들게 하지 않아도 돼. 당신 충분히 할 만큼 했어. 이제 그만 자신 용서해. 이런다고 머릿속에 있는 그것도 빠지지 않을 거고 달라질 건 아무것도 없다고.
과거는 바꿀 수 없지. 그래서 악몽이 돼서 나타나 자꾸. 하지만 미래는 아니야. 바꿀 수 있어. 자신이 누구인지만 잊지 않는다면 내가 누구지? 말해줘. 내가 누구야? 어서 말해. 내가 누구였지?
당신은 내 친구.
돌아올 거라고 믿었어. 오늘도 너를 기다려.
A tearful laugh escapes him. He gives his partner one final embrace, and without looking back, he plunges into the burning inferno. He emerges once, carrying the child's mother to safety. Inspired by his courage, a few young men soak a nearby curtain and drape it over his shoulders. A makeshift cape, vibrant and red. In that one small moment, Superman is reborn. But the fire is spreading. He runs back inside, fighting his way upstairs, and finds the little girl trapped in the smoke. He has her. But the way down is now gone, consumed by a wall of fire. There is no escape. As the flames inch closer to a gas line, as all hope seems to be extinguished, a forgotten idea sparks in his mind. A memory, a fantasy, a last impossible option. Superman can fly. And for one perfect, impossible moment, the fantasy becomes real. He lands, the little girl held safely in his arms. In Soo-jung's eyes, it's a heroic landing, steady and sure. The crowd roars with thunderous applause. She smiles, overwhelmed with relief. She sees him as he was meant to be, Superman, in his vibrant colors, raising a triumphant fist, before soaring away from the grateful crowd. It is his first real flight, and it is also his last, because that was just a fantasy, a final beautiful dream before the impact. But the reality is far more human. He lands hard, shielding the girl with his own body. She gets up, unharmed, and there is no applause. There is only a stunned silence from the crowd. But on his face is the brightest, most peaceful smile you have ever seen. In his final act, he truly believes he has succeeded. The kryptonite crystal finally falls from his mouth, and with it, a slow trickle of crimson from the back of his head. His mission is complete. He has defeated his enemy and saved the innocent. He is, at long last, truly Superman. Soo-jung stares blankly, watching him fade from the earth. And in the silence, she finally understands the man he was. He wasn't a madman. He was a hero forged by nightmares. A man who faced so much despair that he chose to defy it by manufacturing his own hope. A man abandoned by the world, time and time again, who refused, stubbornly, to abandon it back. In a world that prizes normality above all else, perhaps his madness was simply a shield, a private fortress of fantasy, built to protect a mind too gentle for the relentless cruelty of reality. We all build our own, smaller fortresses every day. We distract ourselves. We look away. We tell ourselves little lies to get through the day. His was just bigger. And maybe, in its own strange way, more honest. Because he wasn't just running from his past. He was actively trying to rewrite its ending. He took every torment, every ounce of his pain, and chose to transform it into purpose. The purpose of being Superman. In the end, he lays in a cold morgue, the mission complete, his smile at peace, and there, on his chest, is the final, foolish, and beautiful proof of his life. A faint S symbol, tanned by the sun. His wounds were hidden, his nightmares buried deep. In this world, whether it's me or you or the people we see every day, we are masters of commentary. We have endless, sophisticated arguments for why it's better to wait, wiser to hesitate, and smarter to do nothing at all. In an age like this, a simple, foolish act is a form of rebellion. They called him a fool for trying. From the comfort of the sidelines, perhaps he was. But history is not written by the spectators who are skilled at pointing out flaws. It is moved, inch by painful inch, by the fools who are brave enough to get their hands dirty. Tell the story with heart. Tell the story with sincerity. I'm Pixielow, journeying with you so we both may grow. See you in the next video.